Welcome to the premiere episode of Critics Circle with me, Charles Gross, and Leslie Hoban Blake.
Hi, I'm Leslie Hoban Blake, historian of the Drama Desk.
That makes me Charles Gross, Drama Desk member, and the author of Tales of Stockbridge, which is currently streaming at the Rochester Fringe Festival. How are you, Leslie? It's been a while.
It's been a while, but I've been better, and I'm just glad we're here, Charlie. I'm just glad we're here.
As the song goes, I'm glad that we're still here also. Well, tonight is the first episode of our brand new series, Critics Circle.
We realized that our normal show was called Two on the Aisle, but there are no aisles for us to be two on at the moment. So until such time as the theater reopens, and we hope that's going to be soon,
Amen.
we're going to furlough Two on the Aisle, and we're going to bring you this new show, Critics Circle.
With which we hope to keep you abreast of events happening in the theater.
Yes, and we'll be bringing you in-depth conversations with theater makers on both sides of the curtain. For example, tonight our very first interview is with James C. Nicola, who is the artistic director of New York Theatre Workshop.
And in the future, we'll be talking to directors, choreographers,
actors, stagehands,
designers, and yes, even our fellow critics.
All sharing their thoughts on the current state of the art.
That's right. And along the way, we're going to be telling you about shows that are streaming in the theater world.
Well, we might even review a few of those, right, Charlie? I can't wait to review something. Can you?
I absolutely. My wife and daughter are getting very tired of my reviewing them. Well, let's walk through the hall this morning.
Right. And we'll also help everyone find theater-related causes to donate to, whether it's organizations or theater companies.
So without further ado, our first Critics Circle interview.
It's my honor for the future part of our program to introduce James C. Nicola, who has been the artistic director of New York Theatre Workshop since 1988. And it moved into the space that we know it in 1992 at the old Truck and Warehouse on East 4th Street. In the meantime, there have been any number of about 8 maybe plays that he has sent to Broadway. That is not, I don't think, the mission of this theater, but when we went to see Hadestown and Slave Play and What the Constitution Means to Me, those shows started, Dirty Blonde, all started on East 4th Street. In addition,
Don't forget Rent.
Don't forget Rent. How could anybody forget Rent? In the meantime, right now, New York Theatre Workshop has an initiative going as to what the future of theater will look like. I'm going to let Jim talk about that, but it's very, very exciting. He has won the Off-Broadway Obie Award for Lifetime Achievement in the Theater. He has been a force of nature in the American theater and in New York theater in particular, but the American theater in general. And it's just a pleasure to be able to bring him to you today. James C. Nicola, hello, welcome.
Welcome. Now, in researching this interview, I found out you and I actually have something in common besides the theater, in that we were both newspaper delivery boys going. Yeah.
Yes, I was a delivery boy for the Hartford Courant.
Bergen Record.
Sorry, I'm out.
North Jersey. I don't even know if that sort of thing exists anymore. But
yeah, I wonder. I don't think so. I think it's, everyone does it online now.
Yeah. Good way to stay in shape, I'll say.
Yeah.
But you were a child, basically. You were probably still delivering the papers when you first got involved with theater, from what I read.
Yes. I started my paper route when I went into 7th grade, and I did it every morning, 365, till I left for college when I was 18. So, yeah, every morning, 5 a.m., get up, go get the newspaper, walk all over town, bike all over town, delivering.
No, my question was, though, that while you were doing that.
I had an afternoon paper.
But my question really was, while you were doing that, you were also, you got an interest in theater at a very, very early age.
Yeah.
So talk a little about that.
I was 10, and I was already an avid newspaper reader. Habit I still have to today. And I read in the afternoon newspaper that the local theater company, the amateur company, Little Theatre of Manchester, was starting a children's wing And I read that and I knew that was something for me. And there have been these moments in my life of just kind of a certainty about this is it. This is for me. I know it, and with confidence. And that was maybe the first of them. I was a little gay boy in the 50s in the suburbs of Hartford, and sports and Boy Scouts and all of that were complicated for me. And this was some sense of like, oh, this is the place you belong. And I wasn't wrong. The Little Theatre of Manchester was a constant till I left to go to college. And really, that was the place where I felt like a future was possible, was sitting in a theater seat. So it goes deep for me.
Now, your title at the New York Theatre Workshop is Artistic Director.
Yes.
Very
Yes.
common title, but everybody, when I mention it, people ask me, what do you do? Or perhaps it would be easier if I asked you, what don't you do?
Well, you're on to one of my favorite subjects, which is what is that role? And particularly in the moment of transformation that we're in the midst of socially. I think it's time to be reconsidering what that is. Not that it was ever well defined to begin with. Certainly across theater practice, you find people can go to school and get an advanced degree in acting, directing, design, playwriting, administration. But there's nothing that sort of has categorized the role of artistic leadership. And the beautiful thing about being one of these is that there's no roadmap. You make it up as you go along. And that's at the same time terrifying. It's also thrilling because you make it to suit yourself. And that's pretty much what I've done for 32 years, is just follow my gut. And I've been incredibly fortunate to be a part of New York Theatre Workshop that has allowed that journey of discovery, really sort of a creative process. I do think of myself in some ways as a playwright, and I'm writing a play. And they've allowed me to make my mistakes, to find my way. And I would say that's continuing. And probably will never...
It's very interesting because you were a director.
Yes.
And NYTW, if I may, NYTW is a director's theater. It's unlike Playwrights Horizons, which is a playwrights theater, unlike Actors Theater, which is an actors theater. It doesn't say it in the title, but it's so obvious in the work that you choose and the people that you choose to do it with. It's directors that you push forward as well as playwrights.
Yes, well, I think that's something that was in its genes long before I got there. Like, as you said, I got there in 1988, and it was founded in 1979, not in the form that it's in now, but its roots are 1979. And its founding was really a fellow named Stephen Graham, who is still on the board and still a major force in the theater, in our theater. He felt back then that what was missing in the landscape of not-for-profit theater was a space for directors. And so, and the focus, I mean, at that point in 79, the not-for-profit theater was maybe 15 years old. It was a field that didn't exist. In fact, one of my most potent memories was 63, 64. That morning, that frosty morning, I went out onto the back porch to get the papers, to deliver them. And I glanced at the front page, and there on the front page of the Hartford Courant was a story saying that there was going to be a theater company in Hartford. And the thing that they sold us on was we could see theater now at a community theater or a college theater, or we could go to the Bushnell Auditorium and see plays and shows coming either from New York on their way to New York, but there was not a resident company that was making theater amongst us, for us, and that if you wanted to see these plays, you didn't go to New York to see them, you saw them here, and people had to come to Hartford. And this was a radical notion at the day, and to me, at 13 or 14, thrilling. So in the course of my lifetime, the whole practice of not-for-profit theater across the country has really grown up. And like I said about being an artistic leader, there was no roadmap for that. There was no, I mean, we had some sense of what was going on in other countries around the world, but it has been made up by trial and error and, regional differences. Certainly downtown New York was a different kind of petri dish for the growth than, say, Hartford or Indianapolis or San Francisco. Sorry.
No, thank you. Not at all.
I love the idea of going without a roadmap, because I think we're at a junction where there's no roadmap. I mean, look, you could go back to the Great Recession, the Great Depression, the World Wars. We have never had anything like this. So where are you steering your ship?
Well, I really feel that it's the year 2020, and looking back 100 years to 1920, we had come through a major epidemic of influenza. It was the first year that women got to vote. In some circumstances, it was just something coming out of World War I. It was the end of the 19th century and the birth of the 20th. And I feel like we're in the same moment. We're in a moment of the fading away of what happened and arrived in the 20th century, and a new generation is creating the 21st century. And theater structure, theater making, the delivery of that experience to those that want it, has been, like I said, 50 years old now in the not-for-profit sector. And a new generation is taking over, and they're asking for new ways of that happening. So it's exciting and terrifying all at the same time. But I try to be optimistic and try to feel like this is an amazing historical moment to be a part of. I don't think the core of it is going to change from that it's born and begins with the creative imagination of an artist. And then that meets the given circumstances of any moment. And then, an event that brings artists and audience together takes shape. I don't think that's going to change. I think everything about how that happens is destined to change. There's no going back. There's no, I just read something in the Times this morning about comparing this moment to the Great Depression, and that the people who were living through that were not looking for a revolution, as some people were proposing on the more progressive side of things in 1932. But we're not looking for a revolution. They were looking for a recovery. And I think that's how it was perceived. And I think we're in the same place. We're looking for recovery from this trauma, from this injury, on so many levels and in so many circumstances. But really, we're a part of the revolution. We're really, something is being overthrown and a new thing is being born.
You did something, though. You set up an initiative.
Yes.
You gave grants. Talk about this. You gave grants to people, to theater artists.
We called it the Artistic Instigator Effort, and it was out of a lot of conversation and a lot of mourning of the loss of a 5-play season that we were about to announce for 2021, and trying to figure out how, in the face of such unbelievable uncertainty, and who knew that planning would be such a privilege. So we looked at all of that, and we do call ourselves New York Theater Workshop. And as I interpreted it, that was a name that was created and conceived by the preceding artistic director, Gene Passanante, to whom I owe tremendous amount. And I love the idea of a theater and a workshop being in the same entity. Prior to 1979, on the not-for-profit world, there was a theater, a producing theater, and there was the O'Neill and New Dramatists. So there were workshops and there were theaters. And the theaters had some degree of workshopiness to them, but not extensively. And this theater was aspiring to put those both together in one entity, with prioritizing directors and playwrights equally, which didn't exist before 1979. So when I came on in 88, what I felt was important to do was to prioritize equally theater and workshop, but make sure they were separate and distinct. That when we were doing a theater part of ourselves, the priority was the need of the community to come and sit in the presence of artists and commune with them and be nurtured or challenged or provoked or given joy, that they were there to receive something, and that was the priority on that side. And on the workshop side, the priority was the need of the artists to have space, to fail, to grow, to provoke themselves, to engage in conversations together. And that could involve audience, but we wanted to be very clear to the audience that would participate in that they were there not for their own purposes, they were there to participate in the artist process. So that has been 32 years of trying to make distinctive what we do in process and what we do for nourishment for the public. And what I realized quickly in this new moment is that we were going to have to abolish that practice of keeping those separate. So when we sell a membership or we talk about how the public is involved or becomes involved or committed to the conversation that we have always sold plays. We've sold a 5-play season. This time what we're doing is we're putting into the marketplace a relationship to the artist and their process. So we've chosen a group of about 23 or 4, maximum when we conceived it was 25 artists. Probably 10 of them were writers and directors that we had already committed to for the 2021 season. And our message to them was, we can't go forward in the way that we had hoped, but here's $2,500 to dream about what we can do together in the circumstances that are unknown. Probably not gathering. If we do gather, it might be outside. It might be somewhere else. Or if it is, it might be socially distanced with a tiny audience. Or it might be in the sphere that we're in now, which is online in some way, or whatever. We were greatly inspired by something we heard from a Dutch group of artists who made a piece for the audience to be on a Ferris wheel. And the Ferris wheel would move location by location, and each spot moved, it would look down and had headsets, and they would see something unfold on a rooftop or something.
It's like the ride in one space, right?
Yeah.
It's like
it's such a shame that we don't have the Toys R Us in Times Square. A wonderful wheel.
Yes. So
you wouldn't have rooftops. You're talking about a giant. I I what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's
So
like the ride only vertically instead of horizontally.
Yes, and it was outdoors.
Right.
So that part was solved. So we said, because always what we've tried to do at New York Theatre Workshop, not always succeeded, but tried, to be led by the imagination of the artists, and that once we heard from them, then we would make form and structure around what they needed. So we've always tried to lead with that. And this was just a new format of that. So it occurred to us also as we started to develop this idea that there are a lot of people in New York who are very sophisticated theater goers who would be excited to be a part of process work. So one of the things, for example, is we have theoretically in this late spring, we will be going forward with this production of The Three Sisters that we had to cancel this year. But in the fall or winter, we will probably see some process work on that. Like we'll take an act of that and there'll be an open rehearsal that will probably be live streamed for 3 nights, something like that. So many people are coming up with really interesting ideas. And we've sold a membership, which is $10 a month. And you get anything that's streamed or on the street or live for free. If there's actually a ticketed event in a space, you'll get a very reduced ticket price once we know what that might be. But it's really the real core of the idea is that you're buying into the lives of these 25 artists and what they come up with over this year. So it's a whole new idea. I'm very excited about it. I think that is a radical shift of theater making and conceiving right there. And I think we're thinking of this as a year for, this is a laboratory for what a theater is or what we will be in the future. And we'll learn a lot in all of this.
And so will everybody else watching what you're doing as well.
Yeah.
Because everybody's working on things, but it's wonderful to hear this.
Yes.
It's very exciting.
We're all making it up as we go. So the whole field is one big learning, one
Yeah,
laboratory.
but I mean, to be able to take away a positive from this horrible situation, that's an incredible, you know.
Yes.
I don't know what Broadway's going to do. Broadway is an entity, it's a monstrosity unto itself.
Yes,
but all the smaller theaters will be able to do things.
Yep, hopefully.
Thank you so much. This has been, Charles, did you have anything else you wanted to say? I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I have quite a bit I want to say, unfortunately.
Well, go ahead. We have we have a couple of minutes.
Very quickly, was there a show that got away? In other words, a show you would have liked to have been a part of that either you passed on or it flew under your radar?
Oh, well, there's probably too many to go into, but what comes to mind is the Book of Mormon, which we started down the road with and did a couple of workshops with, and we were ready to go. And there was a final workshop that went on for, there was a long one in our turn, 6 weeks, with a couple of sharings, 2 different sharings at the end. And I remember sitting through the second one and thinking, the core of what this now is in essence a parody of musical theater structures and things. And really the right context for it is Broadway, because that's what its satire is. And off-Broadway complicates that, or our frame certainly might not be the right way for this to be born. And I had that thought. And about 2 days later, I got a call from Scott Rudin saying, we've decided we're going to go straight to Broadway. So
great minds think alike.
Thank you for all your work. Thank you for all your hard work. We're taking it where the money is. Oh dear. Sorry, you didn't say that. I did. I understand you also did a workshop of
we're going to lose the feed very shortly, by the way.
Okay. Ain't No Mo, which we saw at the Public.
Yes. Now that one, I really, I believe in those two, Stevie and Jordan. So
absolutely,
deep.
Yes.
That's a really good example of really a regret I have, that I love them both. I loved what that was up to. We worked on that up at our Dartmouth summer retreat. We've been up at Dartmouth College for 30 years now, doing process work exclusively. And that was an extraordinary moment for us up there. And it just felt in my gut, yes, we got to do this. But they began a conversation because Stevie was assisting Oscar. So there was a relationship built there that ultimately ended up with them doing it. I'm really happy that it got into the world. It's a very...
Oh, absolutely. I have to thank you because I've always thought of the New York Theater Workshop as a cauldron. And the more you talk about it, the more I see that that's exactly what it is. It's where everything bubbles up.
What the New York Theater Workshop means to me.
Yes, very good, Charlie.
I like that one.
Yes, Jim, thank you so much. We will talk.
It was a great pleasure
again, and we're looking forward to see what this brings up.
Whether it's indoors, outdoors, on a screen.
Get us a Ferris wheel, please. Get us a Ferris wheel.
Yeah. That would be great.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. You. Bye-bye.
We're going to close out our premiere show with footage that I shot of my neighbor, Brian Stokes Mitchell, leading the 7 o'clock cheer for essential workers, like my daughter Sarah, who's a nurse at the Presbyterian Hospital.
That clip that Charlie shot of Stokes Mitchell, and it's only 2 or 3 minutes long at the most, got over 28,000 hits. Give them what they want, they'll come for it.
And hopefully you'll come and see us in the Critics Circle.